Welcome and happy spring. I'm Sharon Jaffe Dan, Editor-in-Chief of Home and Design Magazine. We just published our May-June issue, which is in the mail and ready and coming to newsstands soon. It features a number of fabulous makeovers, which are timely because record numbers of homeowners are remodeling these days. In a December 2020 survey by Freedonia, 39% of consumers reported that they had a home improvement underway. And many of the builders, architects, landscape designers, and interior designers who I know have said that they are busier than ever helping clients upgrade their homes after everyone has sheltered in place for the past year. Luckily, today's panelists completed the whole house renovation featured on our May-June cover in late 2019. So their clients were able to settle into their dream home before the pandemic hit. Though they started with a bare-bones structure, these pros transformed the residence into a chic, one-of-a-kind, and party-ready refuge. Our panelists will take us through this dramatic makeover that focuses on their clients' vision and aesthetic, and also reflects their love of music and entertaining. Architect Sarah Armstrong, AIA of Studio360, pursued her lifelong dream of becoming an architect at Virginia Tech. After she worked for a number of award-winning architects in the DC area, she launched her firm where she designs finely crafted homes throughout the region, many for repeat clients. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Sharon, thanks for having us.
Great to see you.
You too.
And Betsy DeLisi launched her career 20 years ago at a large architecture firm, designing commercial interiors in DC and LA. Later, she shifted gears to residential design and gained expertise at a prominent firm before establishing her own studio, Lotus Interior Design, in 2007. Today, she serves clients on projects ranging from new construction to makeovers. Welcome, Betsy.
Hello, Sharon and Sarah. Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you both, at least virtually. And
you too.
We're excited for our chat this morning. How have you both been doing working at home this past year? And both of you, I know, happen to have 3 kids at home and juggling all of the schedules. How's it going?
It's still a juggle. It's been a pretty wild year. Like you said, I have 3 kids, 3 ages, 3 schools. It's been a really challenging year to kind of keep it all going, but thankfully they're all doing well. So.
That's good. And I'm sure schools slowly reopening has been a game changer. How about with you, Betsy?
Yeah, it's the same thing with Sarah. Juggling, trying to share Wi-Fi has been challenging, trying to get them to understand I'm in meetings. But overall, clients have been really flexible. That's been nice. And it's been nice to see them go back to school too.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, we're really excited to talk about our May-June cover story. And I'm about to share my screen and we will have a big reveal of the cover. This is our May-June cover that I guess you all have seen it online perhaps.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we're
exciting.
Really excited about it. Maybe you can both tell me, Sarah, what was your first impression of the home and what did you see as its potential and what were the flaws that you were trying to fix?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the existing home that the clients purchased is really a stunning home to start from the outside. Some of the advantages were the way it was sited. I know it was a big reason why the clients purchased this house. The rear of the house faces south to a beautiful yard and had great sunlight. And also the house is a large house to start with. So there was plenty of room within the footprint, to do stuff. Mm-hmm. On the downside, I would say, the floor plan was a little segmented. It was very cut off in certain places, as I think we'll see some today. Mm-hmm. And so some of the challenge was just opening things up so that we could get a really good flow in this large house.
Mm-hmm. How about you? What were you most excited about? And what did you kind of want to remedy?
For me? Mm-hmm. So, like Sarah said, the house itself, when we first walked in, was fairly traditional and dark, yet, this backyard was just gorgeous. And so, there was some things that I knew she was going to change. I was really excited to see how that played out. And it just really expanded all the light that filtered into this house. And I'll talk about it later, that just the filtration of light changed some design decisions that we made, and really, I think, struck these homeowners that this house could really change in this way. And I think the other thing that was interesting about this house, the outside is, fairly traditional, but I don't think that I don't think that let Sarah and I feel like we couldn't do something absolutely the opposite on the inside. So when you look at it from the outside, I don't think you expect what you might find when you open the front door. That was fun.
Right. Yeah, that was fun.
That's great. Well, we will take a tour now. For our guests, you can, we will have some time for questions at the end, so you can enter your questions in the question spaces. I should also mention that the contractor for the renovation is BOA, and all of the photos we're seeing today were shot by Stacy Zarin Goldberg. And we also we're showing some shots today that we didn't have space for in the magazine, so it's kind of a nice treat for our readers.
Yeah.
Here's the opening spread of our story. And I know one of the passions you were trying to express, Betsy, was the owner's love of music. I think they love music. They also are I guess, amateur musicians themselves. How did you reflect their love of music throughout the home and in the living room in particular?
Yeah, music was huge. It honestly plays out in almost every room that we did. So particularly for this living room, I knew that I had a fairly large piano to place in there. So a lot of the selections were based on, making sure we weren't using a lot of bulky furniture. And, if you can look closely, the rug has this motif to it that's almost like a vibration to the rug design. And the approach of just making sure that everything stayed fairly neutral, you'll see that play out throughout this whole house. I think Sarah and I both saw this house as a very neutral house. We neutralized a lot of the traditional elements, making the walls and the ceiling and the trim the same color, and then deciding to let other things pop out. And that's really the same for every room, including this living room, where you see a very kind of a neutral palette, and then these pillows pop, the art was going to pop, and the light fixtures play a large part.
Yep. And what were some of your other goals as you kind of masterminded the project as far as functionality, Sarah?
Well, in terms of function, we wanted to open up the views through the house mainly. So there's some other photos that you have that kind of show the hallway and kind of when we come in there. And, the idea was to really just increase the view to the outside as much as possible, really from every room. So this room in particular, the connection of it actually connects to the room in the picture off to the right there, the second picture, which is an office. And so we added some pocket doors, and we opened things up to give the room some flexibility. On the opposite side of this room, the dining room connects over, that's on the cover image, connects over to the kitchen. So some of it was just increasing flow so that they could really use every room in this house. And it wasn't just.
Back to the music thing, the other thing is that they wanted to be able to play instruments and hear it through and kind of go to each room to enjoy that. And I think that, again, plays to that, how music influenced you. What you don't see in that office is he's got a large like kind of sound mixing table right on the other sides of those doors. So when Sarah opened up that space, they could really utilize it as an office as well as a place for him to jam out, really, and have people in the living room turn to that space and join that.
Right, without seeing all that crazy equipment.
That's great. Sarah, what role does lighting play in the project? I don't know if you both worked on lighting together with the clients, but it really makes a lot of statement.
Yeah, I think Betsy and I did work together in the lighting, although a lot of these dramatic fixtures you'll see here in the main spaces were definitely Betsy's selection, and she did a fantastic job mixing metals and really working with the architecture. I'll let her speak to this, but I think the overall kind of vibe that she and I both did in different rooms was to bring some drama with the lighting. We were playing with scale and materials and wanted to mix that up a bit. And like she said earlier, not keep with this very traditional program, but add some drama and some scale.
Right.
Yep. I mean, I'll just add to that in particular, like this particular fixture, the client really felt that that was musical in a sense. It's curvy, it's whimsical. A lot of the stuff that Sarah did in the house architecturally was linear and clean lines. So I tried to complement that with light fixtures that were a tad overscaled or had sort of a little whimsy to them. So in some areas.
And I'll just add a little anecdote, especially about this one, Betsy, I know you'll remember. So some of the lighting when it first came in, when they hang lighting in a space and the client's coming through and they're looking at it, or subs are coming through, these lights, both in this space, in the office, and the earlier picture in the other rooms, they kind of looked massive. I mean, it seemed out of scale initially. And so sometimes as a designer, you have to help a client see this, see the final view, because here it looks perfect. But when you see a room and only the light fixture is in it, people panic. And so I think it's such a great thing when, Betsy knows the scale of this so well and could size that fixture appropriately. And then we could kind of, stick to our guns and not change it mid-construction because it seemed so big, because as you'll see here, it works perfect by the time it's furnished and everything's in there.
Right. So Betsy, were you sort of sticking to a color palette, and how did that come about? I know that you mentioned neutrals. I see a nice thread of blues throughout the project.
Well, there's no doubt our client loved blue, and there's almost blue in every room. The color thing is interesting. So I think, you're seeing the White House play out on Pinterest, on Instagram, in people's interiors. And it came about first largely because the clients, when they approached me on what their interiors wanted to feel like, they wanted the absolute opposite of what they had in their current home. So they, in their current home, had a lot of heavy traditional furnishings with a lot of dark colors. And they were just, absolutely adamant about going the opposite of that. So given that, I knew that the light, the colors were going to be neutral. We were going to have to still accent with colors. They didn't want to be beholden to any one color. That was also something the client was, pretty focused on. So you'll see in all of the rooms, really just color as an accent. But with this trend of all this white is great. It's allowing us to kind of flip the switch on some of these rooms and have other things pop out, as opposed to like this room, the wainscoting, those things kind of take a back seat. You still have to have really rich materials. You still have to have texture. You still have to have color. Right. So I had to talk them into color a lot of the times because they wanted absolutely the opposite of what they had in their current home.
Here's a great before and after showing the existing foyer view, which completely cut off the view into this wonderful family room and the yard beyond. So Sarah, maybe you can tell us how this came about, and it wasn't just as simple as opening up this wall.
Right. Well, you can kind of see in that photo down there, the previous opening was pretty narrow. It was about, 4.5 feet wide. And so we just kind of flexed our muscles and just pushed both those walls out wider to about, I think it was about 8 or 9 feet. And then there was a dropped ceiling, a bulkhead across there. We were able to remove that. We did decide to keep that paneling. You'll see it in the existing picture as well as the new. We replicated it because we did want to try to, keep some of the traditional features as you came in from the outside in. So we changed the whole scale of that opening, and then, adding those sliding glass doors beyond, to me was just an obvious thing to open that wall up. It's kind of like, when you're sitting in traffic, that first picture just feels like you're at the standstill. And then, you get around the construction and then just boom, you can kind of finally drive. To me, that was kind of the feeling of this room is coming in the front door and just being able to see straight through to the backyard.
Exactly. Oh, it's fantastic. And what was the rationale of using the sliding glass doors instead of just keeping it open? What purpose does that serve?
Yeah, great question. So I would say it was two things. One, they did want the functionality of being able to close off that room. There's a TV just beyond those walls on the left that couch faces. So there was some idea about being able to, have a sense of privacy when you're in that room or close it off if they wanted to, even and still get the light through. But then the other part of it I'll say is those black, doors are very much a design statement. And so we were throughout the house doing these kind of very modern, black, sleek elements that took the house from this more traditional style to a more clean, modern style. And then as you move through the house, as we'll see later on the back wall that opens to the yard, we put in two huge 16-foot, doors that are the same kind of thing. So this was like a little mini appetizer to the main course that comes later when you come into the house.
Right. It's fantastic. And now we're in the family room, which I love. And speaking of the windows, Betsy, why are these painted? Are the window frames painted? And what purpose was that done for?
Yes, they are. And that actually came later. That was never supposed to be. So, sometimes you find these in projects that happened because something else happened. So we can all blame Sarah, who gave me, and the clients a great space, opened up, and they fell in love with how the light filtered in. We were always going to do window treatments here. It was always part of the plan. And when they saw it and felt the space, they just didn't want to cover it up. So I felt that the windows, I didn't want them to disappear. We had coffered ceilings. We had some things going on. And I just felt that they needed to have still a presence in the room if we weren't going to do the window treatment. So I think it works great and I like it now, but it's funny, it wasn't supposed to be.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that was a great call by Betsy. I mean, we did have this kind of mix because we had these very traditional, white existing windows that we didn't change in this room. And then in the kitchen, we had talked about painting them black, but this was something that, Betsy kind of had the right color too. It's not a black. It's kind of, what is it? That's like a gunmetal gray. And so we did that here, we did that in the kitchen. And so it tied all those things together.
Well, we also had the black doors in front of it, so it couldn't be black. And it had to be softer than that, but I didn't want them to go away.
Right.
Yeah, we need something. Again, all this white is great. It's fresh and lovely, but it can't stand alone without some things in the room carrying a white room.
Right. Yeah. And it looks fabulous with the gray sectional and fabrics that you've selected in here. In general, Betsy, what sort of drove your furniture selections throughout the house and in this room in particular?
Well, I will tell you right off the bat, function was the first priority for this family. They wanted, all their rooms to have the max amount of seating for people. And so with every room, we looked at what type of furniture can fit the most amount of people. And that's true for this room. That's true for all of the rooms that you'll see. And so, a large sectional like that was always going to, be there. And then, how could we complement it with some other chairs? And, if somebody wanting specifically they wanted a recliner, and, some of us in the design community are like, oh, recliners. How do we find a good looking recliner and some swivel chairs? And again, trying to keep it light. So function is how I tried to first approach it, and then comfort. This was also, I'll tell you, a project where even though the clients really wanted something that wowed them and their friends, they wanted it comfortable. We're not trying to design rooms that you can't use and the living room that you can't touch or go onto anything. Everything had to be, we can lounge on this, and that sofa is actually white, and it gives me, stress to give clients white sofas. So you have to find materials that's gonna, sustain that wear and tear of people lounging on it and living in their home. So finding furniture that could fit a lot of people, finding comfortable furniture, and finding materials that could withstand families doing what families do.
Right. Well, I know that in the living room and throughout the home, there are a lot of custom pieces, including this fabulous console behind the table, which I love. What do you think bespoke furniture does? How does that elevate an interior? And give us a little tour of what makes this table so special.
Yeah, that's huge for my business because I can really make furniture for my clients' lifestyle.
Mhm.
And now that people are using like their laptops on sofas and we're having to float furniture in the middle of rooms, I have to, for instance, for this console, I had to electrify this console and make sure that it could allow people to plug into it from behind so they could plug their computer in, they could sit on their computer and watch TV and do work. They could plug in their phones. I
This
think,
little
I think
plug
Sarah, there's,
right here.
yeah, there's like some pop-up outlets in it. And then we wired it so that it could wire to an outlet in the floor. And I think, Sarah, we've got a countertop that also is electric. Doesn't it also have the ability to charge your phone on it?
Right. One of the coffee bars, when you come in from the garage, we charge the countertop for their phones.
Yeah. So this couple was techie, and they wanted that ability to um, plug in their phones, but hiding wires is just another skill set for designers these days. How do you hide those pesky wires? So that's what was fun about this. But again, it's about being able to design furniture to clients' lifestyles.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a fabulous before and after of the breakfast room and these great new doors. So Sarah, tell us how this room changed architecturally.
Well, architecturally, it was divided into 3 sections. And so by us removing some of, you can see there was kind of some knee walls and pilasters in there. The doors going out to the rear yard, the existing doors were just kind of in an odd location as they related to the outside.
Mhm.
And so what we were able to do by doing these 2 larger openings is really have a more inviting connection from this whole space, which is where the clients really live. Like this was kind of their main spot.
Mhm.
Even as an actor, when we were trying to photograph this, we were in their stuff. They're trying to use their space and, this is where they all hang out. And so we also renovated the patio out there and changed some columns and things so that that was more usable as well. And so that they can really come in and out of these 2 spaces very easily.
Mhm.
And then I'll also add, one of the reasons why I think it's so important that architects and interior designers work together and work together early on a project like Betsy and I were able to do here is because, I had a concept for this room kind of like this, where some of our early layouts, we showed a large table and the clients, weren't sure how they were going to use this space and that kind of thing. So by having Betsy come in and really show them some very specific options for furniture and tables and chairs and layouts, kind of what I'll say is helped influence the architecture, helped us move in this direction and confirmed this direction so that the clients felt more comfortable investing in, these kinds of doors, these kinds of windows to make this big, large space, because it really became about the table.
Mhm. And obviously they're ready to host many people in this house because they have a breakfast table that seats 15, right? And this is another custom piece. Tell us about the table, Betsy.
Yeah, this is my favorite. This was a labor of love. And back to what Sarah was saying, when she opened up this space, we both were like, you either go big or go home. You're either putting a big old table in there or, do you split up the space? And splitting it up never, she had just opened it up. So splitting it up never felt right. But what that was going to be was needed to be important because the live edge slab felt warm. It felt natural. Clients loved that it felt sort of organic and imperfect. And in particular, I found a company out in Oregon who sourced, this is a piece of Claro walnut, who chopped down the trees. We literally hand selected their slab. They got to pick it out. They got to look at all the characteristics of the slab. We dried it out for months and months on end. And then I shipped it to my partners. Great company. Their name is Black Wolf from Wisconsin, who finished this beautiful table for me and helped me design the base, and couldn't have done it without them. And so it just became very special, and it becomes sort of, a family piece really for them. It was made for them. They picked it out, and it fit the space. And so it really came out quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
I love
You
it.
did a great job with that, Betsy. It really, if you see it up close, it's just stunning.
It took like 12 people, 12 movers to get in late one night. It's got a whole story, but we got it in, and it's really a fun piece.
Yeah.
I just love all the geometry going on in this room with the
Mm-hmm.
modern chairs and the natural wood and the metals and the lighting as well. So it's really a fun combination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now to the kitchen, which you collaborated on with Eric Lieberneck.
Eric. Mm-hmm.
And I could spend a year in this kitchen.
Yes,
I
it's so
love
nice.
all the materials, and also I think it's as you've touched upon, it's a wonderful mix of sort of a little bit of a classic feel, but applied in a really modern way.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, maybe you can tell me how you what Eric brought to the table and how the kitchen came about.
Yeah, the existing kitchen, as you can see in that photo there, it's interesting. A lot of people, kind of friends of theirs, came into the house initially and thought, oh, what's wrong with the kitchen? The kitchen's fine. You should just leave it. But, we really had a whole vision for the whole house to make this a more modern space. So one of the challenges with this was, how do we do a kitchen that's very modern, that has this very clean feel to it, that still functions well, obviously, but has a warmness to it, right? That we didn't want it to be white and cold and just this sterile kitchen. So Eric did a great job just, providing multiple samples. I mean, we went back and forth with different woods and different stains. And, it was his idea to do this kind of backlit, tall china cabinet that you see there on the left. So that whole back wall actually lights up. Yeah. And then we added those kind of, what would we call them? Kind of shadow boxes up tall in the space. And that helped break down the scale. There were 10-foot ceilings in here. So, there's some decorative things up there you could put too that's lit. There's kind of an LED tape that runs all through there. So, yeah, Eric just knocked it out of the park on this kitchen with the finishes. The upper wall cabinets you see beyond, there's a veneer on those. Yes, we were looking for something that had a real linear, we wanted some texture. So those wall cabinets have like a linear texture, and then the backsplash, we did just a very horizontal subway, but in a more modern way with a longer proportion. And I think that helped modernize the space.
And are these wood?
They're wood cabinets, but they actually have a veneer finish. So the actual finish on it, it's a composite material that, and when you feel it, it actually has a kind of a wood texture to it. But, we intentionally use no hardware up there. That's very clean.
As is the hood design. I just love that. It's like a piece of sculpture.
Thank you. Yes. We, again, worked on that with some different finishes and did some samples of different ways of sandblasting it and rubbing it and, different patterns. This was an important feature of the kitchen because the clients do a lot of Indian cooking. And so they really needed a hood that could withstand some serious use. And they use a lot of spices and different things at the stove. So we needed something that could also function well. It's a high-powered hood, and it can clean up real easy.
Right. So here's a peek at a room that unfortunately we didn't have space for, but this is a lower level that's really designed around entertaining. Betsy, tell me about the different zones in this room, and also maybe you can point out some more of the music references in this space.
Yeah, this was so fun. What you can't see kind of over to the left is there's a whole bar area. So not only is there just a fun, cool bar, there's a pool area to play pool. And then what you're looking at straight on is I had this semicircle sofa designed so that their friends could come over and listen to them play music. So also what you're not seeing is out of the shot is a ton of musical equipment, drums and guitars and all kinds of fun stuff. So there's a lot of different little pockets to this area. There's also a wine area under the stair. There's a theater area. There's some high top tables over by the pool. So pool tables. So there's just so many little fun areas for them to enjoy their friends. And you've got the fireplace, but it's all around sort of listening to them play music together and sing and enjoy each other. And actually that rug that you're looking at, the blue rug, is designed after a Van Halen album cover, except for that album cover was a blood red and we couldn't live with that. So we changed it a bit and went with the blue and tried to pop really fun colors and just have fun down here. It was a great space designed by Sarah, and I wish you could see the bar. The bar's super cool.
That's great. And then this is a fabric panel that was put in for acoustical reasons, right? To absorb sound.
Yeah, we were looking at different ways to try to absorb some sound down here, knowing they were going to be using it really as a studio or, not for recording, but for performing. Mm-hmm. And so, like most basements, there's a lot of hard surfaces, hard floors, hard walls and ceilings. So we were trying to think about what could we do to absorb some of the, reverberation in there. And Betsy can speak to it, but yeah, that's kind of it's not just art, it's an acoustical, it has some acoustical qualities to it as well.
Fabric. Yep, it's fabric.
And these were also acoustical. And Sarah, you can tell us what this space is and what purpose these panels serve.
Right. So if you were, at the music kind of stage to the left is this long wall that we decided to do this kind of linear wood slats on. Part of the purpose of it is so that when you come down the stairs, which you can see on the right from the upper floor, you're kind of greeted by this very modern kind of cool welcome of this wood slats with the black reveal in it. And then that carries across and kind of comes around the corner and ties into the bar. But the purpose, the function of it too, besides just aesthetics, is we were really trying to absorb some sound down here and cut down on the echo. So I will say BOA just did a fantastic job on this. I originally had a concept for it, how we would construct it. We had some acoustical material back behind those slats, and it was one of those things we just worked on in the field. And BOA did a couple different mock-ups, and we tried different woods and different ways of, absorbing it, because we also wanted to keep it clean. We wanted to make sure it didn't get dirty inside all those little slats. So they had some really creative solutions of some ways that we detailed this wall, which came out great. And then beyond is you'll see that hidden door there, it opens to a theater room.
Right.
So we needed that acoustical barrier to block off the theater room. And the clients did say, we kind of love the idea that this is this little hidden space down there. So they could entertain and have all these people down there and then have this kind of wow moment of, hey guys, look, let's go watch a movie, and then open the door and, it's this kind of surprise space.
Very cool. Every house needs to have a hidden door, right?
Yeah.
Agree.
And then this is a really clever use of space under the stairs for wine cellar. This is a humidor, kind of a great storage area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just trying to make the most under the stair, and this basement kind of, as a lot of projects do, evolved over time. The primary scope initially were the upper two floors, and then the basement kind of came in. Betsy, did we add this even during construction? I think we were kind of adding a lot of this with the client. And so some of these ideas were just coming up during construction. It was like, hey, we have this closet, under the stair. Can we make this something special for you? And the clients were like, sure, show us what you can do. And so
we were really lucky with our clients. They really allowed us to expand ideas and continue to work on this house. The scope was much smaller when we started, right? Yeah. So we were lucky in that aspect.
Well, it definitely shows. So our last before and after is the owner's bathroom. I think everyone has seen a bath like this with your, probably 1980s jacuzzi that takes up a ton of space that you could get hurt getting in and out of. And as you were in discussions, I think for our viewers who haven't worked for a designer or don't know what's possible, we have a rendering to sort of show and document the concept. So this is a a 3D rendering. And Sarah, maybe you can sort of walk us through what stage you created this in and how it evolved into the final bath, which we'll see in a moment.
Right. Yeah. We do a lot of 3D rendering with our clients to help communicate ideas. I just find that, for those of us who live in the world of drawing plans and elevations in flat space, we can see it because it's how our brains work and how we're trained. But for clients, it's really hard for them to visualize in 3D what we do in 2D every day. And so the way this came about was the client collected some images, on different platforms that they shared with me about things that they liked, right? Style of vanity, style of tub, type of shower, those kinds of things, colors. And then, we worked up a plan of how we could rework the function of the whole master suite because, it was a separate his and hers bath, separate closets. It was a very segmented space. So we blew out all the walls, came up with a plan, and then from there created this rendering that was kind of a collection of the design ideas that the client started with. And so this was the first proposal of like, hey, if we took this, and this, put it in this plan, this is how it could look.
Yeah.
And we didn't look back. They loved it.
Yeah, well, this looks amazing. And then the real thing looks even more beautiful with the actual materials in place.
Thank you. Yes, this came together really great. Bathrooms are very personal space. When we talk with clients, we don't start with this, but we all end up having a meeting where we all kind of sit around and giggle and talk about our bathroom habits. And, that's what kind of makes for a good bathroom is something that's very personal. So, here in this one, there were his and hers vanities. The husband is very tall. The wife is more petite. And so some of these studies were all to just help them visualize how each of them could use this bathroom and it would be successful.
Right. And we didn't have space for this vanity shop, but I just love how intimate and personal this vanity is. And it's also so well lit. And I know there's a lot of functionality here that we don't see in terms of electricity and wiring, right?
Yeah. Bathrooms, sometimes when we're lighting them, we want lights that look pretty and they don't always work for those of us who want to put on makeup, right? So we had to create another little space that was really well lit for her. And this is a custom, mirror contraption, again, that we worked with the electrician and BOA to build. I didn't want the mirror sitting on the vanity top, so we suspended it from the ceiling and ran the electrical through there. And then BOA actually built like a frame behind the mirror, so this would all kind of be nice and neat and tidy behind there. And it really works well. It looks pretty and it works really good.
Right. Well, I just love it. Congratulations to you both for doing such an amazing job. You made a great team along with BOA and Eric. And for our viewers who want to see more of the project, they can read about it online and in the magazine. The article is written by Linda Hales and photos by Stacy Zarin Goldberg. So kind of my last question is to both of you, maybe starting with Betsy, what is the best advice you can give to a homeowner embarking on a renovation, mistakes to avoid and how to kind of, it's so easy to deviate down lots of different paths. What's kind of your main philosophy to help them through the process?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, I think you just start with forming a great team. Construction is going to take a lot of turns, and there's a lot of elements that can change and shift. So having the right team in place to take you through that process, I think is huge. I think that homeowners have to be pretty flexible and patient with the process. And I think not going too fast through the design phase is huge. A lot of people will start off and you'll get all your ideas and they want drawings fast and they want to get to construction, and that's super fun. But to really take your time going through the proper phases of design makes all the difference in how a project comes out as well as how it's executed. So I'm one for making sure that phase is solidly seen to.
How about
I
you?
agree. For advice, yeah, I agree with Betsy. I mean, it's a long process from start to finish when you really think about renovating a house. And if you think about it as in terms of a place where your family you know, is coming together. And I think that's one of the things from the pandemic that we've all seen is that, you know, our home has become this sanctuary, you know, that now has to serve multi-purposes. We have to be able to, you know, have our families and school and work and just have the ability to do all these different things. So I think when you're starting a renovation, to really think through all the function of what you're going to want to accomplish up front, you know, so that the designers have the most information possible and can think outside the box a little bit. And then to Betsy's point, you know, to have a team that you just like,
Right.
you know, that this is a long process. And so you have to really enjoy the people you work with and trust them so that, you know, if changes do happen, or if the scope changes, you can really trust what your designers are telling you, and the contractors too. You know, it has to be a cohesive team.
Exactly. We have a few questions from our attendees. Someone wanted to know if the black doors are metal or wood. I'm assuming they mean the doors in the family room and breakfast room.
Yeah, the big sliding doors are steel.
Excellent.
And actually, they're two different kinds I'll mention too real quick. So the interior ones, you know, are specifically for an interior construction. So they're thinner, single paned. The exterior ones, we put a lot of effort. We actually got those doors from Portella, and they're an insulated glass. They're thermally broken, much more complex construction to the door.
And another question, with all the musical elements in this beautiful home, did they install a sound system or speakers throughout? And is that technology mostly wireless, and can it be installed after construction?
Well, they did, right, Sarah? If I recall.
Oh yeah, very sophisticated.
This house is fully loaded when it comes to any other sound systems, security, lighting. It's a smart home at its finest, this home. Can it be installed after construction? I don't recommend that. It's not easy to do that, to sort of retrofit some of those things. Much easier to do it when you can open up walls and place things where they need to be. And even from, if you're talking about AV stuff to security systems to lighting, even, you know, having motorized shades for those of us, you know, who do that, just all that wiring is so much easier if you can do it during construction, pre-construction. But I guess it can happen. You're just ripping down a lot of stuff.
Right, agree.
Right. Well, we also have a guest ask, what was the overall timeline for the project?
Let's see, I actually was looking this up. I think that they purchased the house in 2017. And we started design January of 2018. And we went through a process, design. It kind of, I think we said before, the scope was a little bit limited. It grew, so there's some overlap between design and construction, but we started construction October of 2018. And then they moved in August of 2019.
And my timeline for interiors just continue. It takes a little longer for us to complete a house when you're talking about finishing a room. And that's another thing. If you talk about advice for clients, it's a long, long process for the interiors to absolutely get completed. And in some ways, you don't want to fill up every inch of a house. You want to get into it and feel out some decisions. So it's not even necessarily smart to furnish every nook and cranny, but it can take a while to finish really the interior side.
Any other questions? I stopped sharing my screen. Someone asked if how far away is the refrigerator? Was the refrigerator showing in our screen, in our shot?
I'm not sure if it was showing, but it was right to the right in that one image. So it's basically, there's a center island. The range is at the end. The refrigerator was right on the right.
Okay, so it might have been cropped out of that image.
Yeah, it's right there in the corner.
Right.
And we had some other features in there, warming drawers and microwaves and some other things that were hidden you can't see in the photo.
Right. Well, I know this house was really designed to be shared with lots of family and friends. So hopefully the owners will be able to start entertaining on the scale that they were planning for. how do you think the pandemic has changed the way people are using their homes and renovating their homes now? And will some of these changes be here to stay? Either of you can take that first.
Well, I will tell you, I've heard that, I've been asked that question.
Sure.
And in particular, somebody said to me, do you think we'll go from this open concept plans down to individual rooms again because people want space? I don't see that playing out quite yet. Maybe there will be a little bit more focus on the office, right? Where you want, a little more room, but I don't know. I guess we'll see that play out, and how people will make decisions in that way. I don't know if I know yet. Not in any projects I'm doing, we've made a conscious decision to do something else. We have not closed off rooms. We have not done anything like that. But I don't know, Sarah, are you getting any requests to make changes based on what we've just gone through?
I don't know about changes. I do see more interest in things like home offices, outdoor spaces, screened-in porches, and people just trying to maximize the space they have as best as they can. Probably the biggest change I see here to stay, and I don't know if it's a change, but it's just, I think people are more invested in their homes. I think this is why in our industry, we're just seeing such a huge boom in everything from a small scale of, dishwashers being on back order and you can't find a plumbing faucet at Home Depot because everybody wants to just update their space, and they're seeing value in their home and value in making it a place that's pleasant to be in, and feels good and is updated. And so I think that the home design construction industry is just going to continue to flourish because people are more invested in making the space that they live in better.
Agreed.
Agreed. We have our last question. I think I'll send this to Betsy. When designing something of this scale that has a long project timeline, how do you ensure the design choices transcend time and not have to be changed in a few years when the trend changes?
I mean, that's a great question. And that's hard to answer, except for making sure that you really listen to what the clients are asking for, and not necessarily doing design that is reflective of your style. I mean, I think that trends are going to they're going to come and go. The White House, could come and go. We saw dark floors transition over to light floors. So helping clients make those decisions is tricky, but I just try to really understand what the client likes, what they're comfortable in, colors they've always liked, materials that, just speak to them. I think that helps with, not falling into trendy selections. But of course, there's always going to be those things that people get influenced by. They see it in the magazines, they see certain things done a certain way. But we all can fall back on the colors we've always loved, the materials we like. And so I try not to do anything that isn't too far away from really their own personal style. So trying to get to what that is, having the conversations, looking at images, and again, going through that design phase and making sure you don't skip over it. I don't like to design homes that are not highly collaborative with clients on what they are looking for. This is not my home. It's always their home. And I'm just trying to, understand their style and show them things that maybe they didn't think about, and ways in which to explore their own personal style in interesting ways, and look at the functionality of things. So I think it goes with just really listening to the client and trying to understand what they like.
Right.
And when you like something, when you like something, you're not talked into something, it tends to not to be trendy for them. They'll stick with it. They will always go back to it.
Right. Well, you both have definitely achieved that timeless appeal in this project. So congratulations. And I want to thank you both for taking all of this time to talk to us today. I think I've learned a lot, and I hope everybody else on our chat has as well. And
thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to talk about it. Thank you.
Well, be well and happy spring. Take good care.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.